Thank you for joining us today. We're so glad to be with you all. I'm Patty Poppy. I'm privileged to lead the team at PG&E. And I joined the company earlier this year. And I came to make it right and make it safe. I'm joined today by Adam Wright, our Chief Operating Officer, who joined PG&E shortly after I did. I'm joined by Joe Wilson, our Regional Vice President here in the North area, lifelong resident, and also most recently has been leading our Butte County rebuild efforts. I'm also joined by John Mader. John Mader is a electric distribution engineer and president of our Engineers Scientists of California union members at PG&E. I'm also joined by some great team members here locally, and they're here with us physically, and in spirit, 25,000 other PG&E coworkers are with us here today as well. That team gets up every day with one thing on their minds: to serve you. We are here in Chico today because there's a cloud of smoke in the air. And for many people, that brings back traumatic memories and difficult times. In fact, Joe Wilson shared with me that the Dixie Fire is a punch to the gut for this community, for her citizens, and for our coworkers, for the people who live and work here too. On July 13th, a fault was initiated on our line by a tree falling on our line. We received word that there was a fault, and we dispatched a troubleman to go and discover and try and find the arduous task of discovering where is the fault on this system. And so he went out and did what he does best under extraordinary conditions. And he searched, and he finally found and was the first on the scene to discover a 70-foot pine tree that had been about 40 feet away from our lines. He described it as a green and healthy-looking tree laying on our otherwise normally functioning lines, doing exactly what they are designed to do. He also saw a small fire on the ground. He took the action to attempt to put out that fire after calling for help. He, by himself, in the wilderness, made multiple trips. I was able to observe the site yesterday. The slope is extreme. He took multiple trips from the top of the slope where his truck was down to the source of the fire, attempting to put it out by himself. His efforts can be called nothing less than heroic. Fortunately, he was quickly joined by CAL FIRE, and they went to work. They did their best to contain the fire, but given the treacherous terrain, the inaccessibility of that terrain, and the incredible drought that we are all experiencing, they were unable to contain what is now known as the Dixie Fire. Because of the good work and the incredible effort of CAL FIRE, they have been able to direct and contain that fire to minimize damage to structures and harm to people, and we are so grateful for that. We are so thankful for the men and women of CAL FIRE and the incredible work that they do on all of our behalf. That tree that fell on our line is one of 8 million trees that are in strike distance to our lines. This is an extraordinary problem. We today, this year alone, will remove over 300,000 trees. We will trim more than 1 million trees. We will harden hundreds of miles of our lines, not to current conditions, but in preparation for future extreme climate conditions. I have thousands of people today on our system, making the system safer than it was yesterday. And it will be safer tomorrow than it is today. Yet we are still dissatisfied. You deserve better. Which is what brings us here today. You know, we were going to make this announcement in a couple months when we had a little more meat on the bones. But we couldn't wait, particularly given the proximity to the Dixie Fire and the emotional toll that it has on all of us. We need you to know that we are working night and day to solve this incredible problem. About a month ago, I gathered my engineers, and we had a day-long workshop with one question on the agenda. What would have to be true to bury these lines? They had answers. They had ideas. They had plans. They actually had experience. The work we've been doing up here in Butte County has taught us that we can do this. And so we are here today to launch our Make It Safe, Bury the Lines program for PG&E. We are committing today to undertake one of the largest infrastructure projects in the history of our state. We are committing to bury 10,000 miles of lines, starting in our highest fire threat districts and our highest risk areas. We start today. We know that this is an extraordinary condition and an extraordinary time. It requires extraordinary solutions and extraordinary thinking and extraordinary people. Where else but in California would we tackle something such as this and expect it to be achieved? The people of California have long captured the imaginations of the world with our innovations and our solutions to problems that people saw as unsolvable. We know that no one can do everything, but everyone can do something, and we know that the people of California can come and work with us, alongside us. We will partner with the best and the brightest to find the best solutions to make this audacious goal come to life. 10,000 miles of line is a trip halfway around the planet. 10,000 miles of line is a trip from Chico to LA 11 times and back. This is an undertaking that no one else has pursued at this scale, but we know that we can do it here. Consider this an invitation to innovate. Consider this an invitation to partner with us. We will be hosting a series of working sessions, strategy sessions, partnering with people across the state to collect and gather the best ideas with policymakers, local and state legislators, tribal leaders, our community activists, our environmental groups, to find the best way, not just the only way, but the best way to make these 10,000 miles go underground. We can do this here, and we can do this now. If you will, forgive me for being a little corny. I can't help but be reminded of the famous words of John F. Kennedy in his moonshot speech. So I'm just going to read them because they speak to me today. We do these things not because they're easy, but because they're hard. Because the challenge is one that we are willing to accept, one we are unwilling to postpone, and one we intend to win. I am inspired by his words. We will make it safe, and we will bury the lines. I'd like to ask Adam Wright to share a few thoughts on the operational nature of this effort and what it means for us. Adam.
Thank you, Patty. Appreciate it very, very much. Before I get going, I also want to take a moment to just thank CAL FIRE, first for their heroic response and their continued dedication to battle the Dixie Fire. Please know my prayers, I know Patty's prayers, the prayers of our PG&E family are with you, with your family, for your safety, and for the communities that you're working very, very hard to protect. Also want to thank John Mader as well for standing here with us today, for showing up and being with us to help us re-engineer and rethink the very challenging task of re-engineering how we do this work to accomplish this just tremendous, extraordinary goal that we have that Patty just announced. And then lastly, without a doubt, thank you to just the countless PG&E workers on our system and contractors who are helping us every single day to meet the needs of our valuable customers. I'm very humbled to be a leader at this company at this time when California needs us to show up differently than we have in the past. This is a great opportunity for PG&E to turn the corner, and as Patty said, to make it right and to make it safe. Undergrounding is tried and true. We've already done it in the past. What's different and unique about this situation is the scale and the scope is truly unprecedented and extraordinary. It hasn't been done at this scope or scale anywhere else in any other energy company in this terrain, and we're fully committed to achieving it. So undergrounding our lines, very, very smart, very, very practical. It's something we've been learning about for the last couple of years. Patty mentioned the Butte County work that we're doing up in Paradise in the North Complex fire areas, and we're getting smarter and learning more. I'm very, very convinced that what we've learned will allow us to accelerate the scope and the processes, that we can make our system safer and do it faster. For example, we were just up in the North Complex fire area yesterday, and saw the fact that our production for undergrounding has gone from 100 or 200 feet per day to a record day of 1,250 feet. Fully convinced we can continue that trend and continue to work on the processes and procedures to make it a lot more efficient to get more mileage done. Some of the things that we've learned and some of the things that we've improved our supplier and contract relationships to deploy higher skilled workers and better equipment to help our trench productivity increase. We found synergies with our natural gas work as well and with telecom providers to do joint trenching that lowers the cost. It also reduces the environmental impact. And then a company of our scale, we have immense purchasing power for us to drive economies of scale to get better materials for cabling and conduit to improve the quality of the work as we go. As we continue to get better, I'm convinced we'll be able to do multiples more miles than we are currently doing right now. I can foresee a future where we're doing 1,000 plus miles per year, and this continues to accelerate. In the meantime, while that is still going on, we're going to continue the very important work of our enhanced veg management, our other hardening processes of overhead conductor being covered, stronger poles. We're going to continue to use analytics for weather forecasting and fire spread predictability so we can identify issues and trouble spots and respond more appropriately. So that work will continue, but undergrounding has shown up as the most effective way for us to reduce the most significant risk on our system, and it's something we're going to continue to pursue. This will be a Marshall Plan-like effort. It's going to take extraordinary collaboration and partnership with our regulators, with our legislators, with our landowners, with our suppliers, with our contractors, with innovators, and with our coworkers. We're going to ask them to do more than they ever have in the past, and we fully expect them to show up because they want the same thing we all do, a safe system that we all can count on. So with that, we will have workshops. We will continue to partner with others. We ask you to join us in this great opportunity to turn the corner and make it safe and to make it right. With that, we'll take questions.
Thank you.
Patty, everybody, you want to join me? So Scott, I believe you might have a question here first, so just let us know.
I want to talk about the fresh tree coming down the line that you're looking into as a possible cause of the Dixie fire here. In that area, we know it's a fire-prone area. This was a fresh tree, like you had mentioned, given the 2018 campfire. Why was there not more preventative maintenance in that area to eliminate a threat like that?
Maybe repeat the question because they won't hear it.
Yeah, so to repeat the question, why was more preventive maintenance not done in that known fire-prone area? We did inspections there, both in 2019 and 2020, deemed the healthy trees healthy and took down the unhealthy trees and did the appropriate inspections. It is troubling to us. We look forward to partnering with CAL FIRE to understand if there's a different risk factor that we haven't considered in our previous inspections. But again, the fact that the tree appeared green and healthy would be an unlikely tree to be removed.
About what was the location and size of that tree?
It was about a 70-foot tree, and it was 40 feet away from the line. So if you could imagine having to cut clear all those lines, that has not been our standard.
So because of that, doing inspections in that area, that wouldn't stand out as a red flag warning to you?
It would not stand out as a red flag warning to us.
Okay, next question. Over here.
Brian with KRCR Channel 7 News, and kind of going on his point too about the areas that these fires have started, specifically with PG&E equipment. This one's potential right now, and you just mentioned obviously some really great work that'll be happening, I'm assuming, in the coming years on undergrounding these fire lines, but here power lines, excuse me. So in the meantime, though, as these lines are still above ground and we have them running through these very rural areas, what can be done to prevent other fires like the Dixie one?
So the question is, what can be done in the interim while we begin and really ramp up our undergrounding program? The things that we are doing, the hardening of our lines, hundreds of miles of hardening, thousands, 300,000 trees will be removed this year. Over a million trees will be trimmed. We have the most extraordinary wildfire mitigation plan in place relative to any other utility in the nation. We are executing that plan with great detail and attention. My leadership team and I are on the ground with our teams, observing, confirming, making sure that they have the support that they need to do their jobs every day. We are all hands on deck, and we will not stop working until catastrophic wildfires stop.
You're obviously here in Butte County, and you even said that the North Complex fire and the Camp fire in these Butte County areas are helping you guys, are giving you more insight as you guys are working to put all the power lines underground. But again, in the meantime, especially people here in Butte County, they just don't trust you guys. They don't trust this utility. So what do you say to those people who frankly just don't trust you?
So the question is, what do we say to people who don't trust us? We say we are going to work until we make it safe and we make it right. We are here for the long haul. I have a team of dedicated men and women who wake up every day to serve.
Brittany from KCRA 3. Hi. Just wondering, is PG&E too big to operate safely?
So the question is PG&E too big to operate safely? It's a great question. No. I think we have the benefit of scale, yet we do believe we need to show up more like our hometown team. And so we have initiated a regionalization structure, and Joe Wilson is a great example of it. And I might ask Joe to make a couple comments about this, about the potential of the regionalized structure with the benefits of a large company, the scope and scale of contracts that Adam referenced. There's benefits to our size. One solution, one standard, excellence as our mantra, and yet the hometown connection. So Joe, why don't you share a little bit about what it means to regionalize?
Thank you, Patty. So I'm Joe Wilson, the Regional Vice President for the North Valley Sierra region. And this is a new model that PG&E has implemented over the last 2 months. Our goal is to really get closer to our customers, listen to our customers better than we have in the past, find out what their needs are and how they want to partner with us. I think that we can use this regional approach where we're closer to our customers and marry it with the scope and scale of the company with its massive amounts of purchasing power, its labor force, to really improve our system and make it safer for our local communities. And that's what my focus is on.
Next question over here.
As I read the filing to the CPUSC, it took about 9.5 hours for the PG&E employee to arrive on scene, at least enough to see that there was a fire. One, why did it take that long, and could PG&E have deployed a faster mode response?
So the question is, what was the reason for the time for the response from the point of fault to the point of determining the cause of the fault? I would say that our coworker, it's hard to explain standing here in a parking lot, but I actually went to where he was and what he could see yesterday. Adam and I were there observing what could be known from where. We actually drove the route to see how long it took. All I can say is that our coworkers' actions that day were nothing short of heroic.
Accepting that the terrain was difficult and the access was difficult, given that this was a no-fault
So the question is a helicopter the appropriate response? Our coworker observed and was trying to find the fault, and he did that with all the tools available, and we leveraged all the tools that we had available to safely determine. And it was on the distribution lines, which are a little lower, and it took time with all the trees to find where the fault was.
And if I may, one last question. Is there a protocol in place to notify CAL FIRE when there is a fault like this as it occurs in real time?
The question is there a protocol to notify CAL FIRE when there's a fault? No, because we have many faults on the system on any given day for a variety of reasons, some very benign, some very significant. And so we have to do that triage first before we call for help. Thank you.
I want to discuss the new initiative now to bury, how much power line did you say you were burying here?
We're going to be burying 10,000 miles.
10,000 miles. Can you talk about that? What's the price tag on that? Where's that money going to come from?
Yeah, so the question is, what's the price tag and where does the money come from? Here's the good news. Today, our hardening efforts combined with the vegetation management cost is on par with undergrounding, but the risk reduction is more significant. That's why we're so excited about this opportunity. There's a lot of technology that we can deploy to continue to reduce the cost. When we think about the scale that we're talking about, we expect that the cost will, even now on par, continue to reduce. And we think that's very exciting. That's what the call for help really is, though. We need the new and best innovations and ideas. We know there are entrepreneurs right here in California working on this problem, and we need to harness their innovation and their ideas to work with us and our engineers. But I'd love Joe just to come back for a minute. Joe has been spearheading much of our undergrounding innovation that's we've undertaken already, which gives us courage to take this stand. I'd love for him to share a little bit more about that, and then we'll turn to John Mader and ask him to do the same.
Thank you, Patty. So first of all, I want to recognize the people behind us who are responsible for helping us to meet our commitment in the community of Paradise. In 2019, we made the commitment to underground 207 miles of electric distribution. And already, we are close to 65 miles that we have already undergrounded, thanks to their hard work. And as we've continued on this construction work, we've figured out ways to kind of re-engineer how we underground through a series of better planning, collaboration with local agencies, work with our suppliers, better engineering, and then we've also started to bring in additional equipment that we haven't previously used that has helped us to speed up the amount of trench production that we can get in a given day. Adam mentioned that we saw some of the work on the North Complex yesterday. They had a record day of 1,250 feet, almost a quarter of a mile in a single day, which is significant for that crew. And really, it's attributed to the type of equipment and conditions that they were working in. We're looking to be able to scale those things up and really apply that across the rest of the system in some of these high-risk areas.
Sorry, following up on that, when did your crew start work, and then when do you expect the 10,000 miles to be completed? And then just another question after that, you know, we're getting calls, emails from our viewers frustrated with PG&E saying, you know, they have to take the brunt of, you know, PG&E's mistakes or mistakes made by PG&E, and they're wondering, is their power going to have to be shut down in an abundance of caution? Is PG&E going to do that?
So let me take the question of when we started undergrounding. We made the commitment in 2019 to underground the community of Paradise and portions of Magalia. And we started that year, and we completed about 25 miles in the last 6 months of 2019. We've continued to ramp up that work. Due to the success that we saw in Paradise, we saw that we could build on the lessons that we've learned, and we applied it to the North Complex fire rebuild area, where we're going to be undergrounding 70 miles. So altogether, just within Butte County, we're looking at close to 300 miles of underground electric distribution.
Yeah, John, you want to?
Good afternoon. I'm John Mader. I'm an electrical distribution engineer for in Sacramento for PG&E, and I'm also the president of the Engineers and Scientists of California. And Brittany, I wanted to address your question. As we innovate, as we make undergrounding a possibility, it really gives us an exciting new tool to be able to design the kind of projects that are going to be necessary to not just reduce the chances of a catastrophic wildfire, but also to greatly reduce the need to rely on PSPS in order to avoid that risk. because when the lines are underground, we can still supply power to the folks. And so that is a key element of this effort. We're going to get a dual benefit from the investment. And yes, right now it is a little bit more expensive than relying on covered conductor, but when the wind speeds get above 55 miles an hour, when your lines are underground, you can keep those lines energized. And that's why, we've been hearing it from the people of California. They don't want the risk of wildfires, but they also don't want the inconvenience of the PSPS events. And that this is what this new exciting tool is going to be able to allow us to be able to provide for the people of Northern California.
Okay, maybe one or two more. Scott, and over here.
Right now, the district attorney for Butte County says that he is looking into the cause of the Dixie Fire, Cal Fire, also investigating right now. I know that the organization has done a lot of changes over the past couple of years since the Camp Fire. Do you believe that anyone in the organization should be held criminally accountable for the start of the Dixie Fire?
As I shared, our troubleman was the first on the scene. He found a green 70-foot tree laying on our lines. That's what we know. Those are the facts that we have today.
Would that be a no?
I will tell you, we look forward to working with local leaders to reimagine our utility, to reimagine how energy is delivered so people are safe and powered. We want both of those things to be true, and we will not stop working until it is.
Is there any concern about a possible criminal charge coming from the DA's office?
I have no comment on that.
Maybe last one here, or we'll do two more. One here, one here.
Going back to the Dixie Fire, just how she mentioned how the power being shut off for people, specifically in the Susanville area, there's thousands of people right now who don't have power right now. What's being done first to get the power back up? And then second, what are they doing in the meantime to just aid these people who are trying to live their lives?
Yeah, we don't serve.
I'm gonna
Yeah, you want
confirm
to
that with Joe.
go, Joe? You want to?
Yeah, so I can't really speak for the Lassen Municipal Utility District, but I do know that with the Sugar Fire and the Dixie Fire, it has required some what they call island configurations, where utilities have to rely on their own generation to provide their own needs rather than be interconnected to other utilities. PG&E is actively working with Lassen Municipal Utility District to find out how we can help support them. But we're also looking at how can we continue to support the customers that we have in the Lake Almanor, Crescent Mills, Quincy, Chester areas. So we're really working in a very collaborative fashion, working with the Office of Emergency Services as well as Lassen County to try and find some solutions. But this is a shared challenge.
All right, our last question here.
Yeah, so the question is our position on microgridding. We're really excited about microgridding. There's some really important applications for microgridding. Now, microgrid, for those of you who are not familiar with what that means, it can mean a lot of different things, but it can mean a very localized power source through solar and a battery and maybe a backup generator, or just maybe purely a battery and solar at a very local level, a residential level. You can also do microgrids, and we do what we call mid-system microgrids, where we'll bring in temporary power to serve a substation so that, for example, in Pollock Pines or Calistoga, we have microgrids enabled so that during a public safety power shutoff, we can power the downtown communities. Customers can have access to vital services, grocery, gas, fire, police, sewer, water, and make sure that we power the essential services during a public safety power shutoff. And so we continue to shrink the number of customers impacted by public safety power shutoffs, and microgrids are a key part of that, but they're also a key part of a system. What I like to say, maybe we won't ever have wireless power, but we could have a lot less wires. And microgrids are a key enabler to making that happen. And again, all in our commitment to make it safe, bury the lines.
And I'm sorry, my question just wasn't answered, the second part. When is this project at 10,000 miles expected to be completed?
Yeah, as I mentioned, we pulled ahead this announcement today so we could share with you our early thinking. We're going to be partnering with a whole lot of stakeholders to determine the best way to do it the fastest. So we don't have an end date. In fact, what we're most excited about is getting the ramp up. We buried a quarter-mile of line yesterday, and we're just getting started. So we can't wait to keep this thing and get it to its full potential. Thank you.
Real quick, I think you mentioned it. What was the price tag on it, the total price tag on it again?
We don't have a total price tag because we know every year it's going to get cheaper than it is today. So right now, consider it on par with our hardening and vegetation management expense that we have today. So for customers' perspective, I say it makes it safer, and it will over time become even more affordable.
People's bills going to go up though because of it?
We work every day to reduce the costs that contribute to our customers' bills, and we're going to keep doing that.
All right, everybody, thank you so much. Appreciate you being here today. Thanks.
Thank you so much.